guys, we're out here at Oakleigh Kart Track today. We're going to be discussing with you why it's so important to do a track walk. So not only if you've never been to a track, we're going to look at some of the key things to be looking out for if it's your first time to the circuit, but also if you haven't been to a track for say maybe 3, even 6 months, some of the key aspects to try and look for so that you can make sure that you hit all your right markings from session 1. Now when we're looking for a track walk, we might think to ourselves, why are we going to bother walking the track when you can just drive it at speed? And then you look at other forms of motorsport and you look at the Formula 1 drivers, the supercar drivers, Le Mans 24-hour drivers. All these guys are walking the track before they go out for their first session. Now these guys are the most experienced drivers in the motorsport world, yet from a karting point of view, some of the least experienced drivers don't even bother going for a track walk. This is why we want to try and point out some of these key things to you so that you get the confidence from session 1. And then that way you don't make as many mistakes and you can pick up on other opponents' mistakes they're making as well because they don't know the track back to front. Okay, so probably the first thing we're going to be looking for is our Ingrid and our outgrid. So they're just real basic things that you want to do on a track walk, is to see naturally where you're going to exit the track once you finish your session. So we're going to have a quick look at this now. So pretty visible, it says in, not all tracks are going to say that. And obviously here we've got our outgrid right there to enter the racetrack. So just be mindful as well as to which direction the track's going and also which way the karts are coming. Because if you exit the track quite fast, then we don't actually know where the other kart's going to be coming around. So we don't make any contact or any accidents. Okay, so another small thing we're trying to look for on our track walk is the flag points. So some tracks are going to utilize an actual flag marshal, so using the flags. Right behind us here we're going to be using a light system as well, so just knowing when to be looking out for those yellow caution flags or the blue flags if you're seeing them as well. So another thing to look out for on a track walk is the flag points, so where you can pass and where you can't pass when a yellow flag is out. Okay, so probably one of the most important things when it comes to a track walk is where's the start light, because we don't want to be falling asleep at the race start. So some clubs are going to be utilising a flag to start the race. Most clubs are using a light system. So with us right now at Oakleigh, we're going to be using that traffic light system, obviously with our red for the start, and then going out to either no lights or to a green light to get the race start as well. So just make sure that you're looking out for where the green light is going to go out so you don't fall asleep at the race start. Okay, so this is where the race is going to be won, the finish line. So it's always important to know where the race is going to be finished, not just because that's where the checker flag is shown, but so you can set up your last corner maneuvers. So as we're looking around to our last corner, this is where the race is going to be won on the final lap. So it's a good opportunity for drivers to set themselves up knowing that this is the last opportunity they're going to get to cross the line first place. Okay, so this is quite important for our drivers. And then we're going right there to where the start finish box is and our finish line. Again, so this is just another example of what may have changed from when you've been to one circuit to the next within a space of the last 6 to 12 months. Now at Oakleigh Kart Track right here now, we used to be starting on the back straight behind us. So we've got the start box and our start lights are behind us. But in recent times, that's now changed. So now we're going to be moving to starting around the corner and actually using a different start line and start lights to what was previously once used. So these are the sort of things that you're trying to look out for on a track walk, as to otherwise you might be missing the start in the first race and all of a sudden just giving up positions that wouldn't have happened otherwise. So again, track walks are sort of important. They're important for all forms of motorsport. Karting is important as well because again, you've got limited on-track sessions. So you want to try and make the most of them when you're out there. Okay, so another thing you're trying to look out for on our track walk is trying to find visual markers so that you know your braking points and get consistent lap times. So at this Oakleigh Kart Track, we're going to our second corner, which is a hard braking corner. And as a general rule, this magnetic strip that we can see right here is basically a great braking marker. So I know that each lap in our tag classes, if I brake at that line, I'm going to be hitting my apexes pretty well. For our cadet classes, for example, it's going to be the tyre barrier. So on a track walk, you're just trying to get a sense of where to brake, where to accelerate, And basically that gets our consistency happening on the racetrack right now. So look for visual markers. Again, as you get more experience, you'll be looking for the smaller parts on the racetrack. When you're starting out, those tire barriers are a nice big visual marker for you to see. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be trying to look at is the curbing. So there's going to be some curbs that are quite aggressive, quite steep. In this instance, it's quite flat. So we're trying to maximize all of that curb because we want to make the corners nice and wide. And as we can see with our tire marks right there, we can see that so many cars have driven over the painted section. But if you look at the jagged section, there's not many tire marks visible. So straight away when we're doing our track walk, if we've never seen the track before, start to look at where the tire marks are on the racetrack compared to the jagged part. We know it's going to be quite aggressive. There's not many tire marks sitting there. Now, another thing that we should be looking out for is the runoff when it comes to the exit of a racetrack, because if we want to start taking some aggressive moves on some of these corners, we need to know if it doesn't go right, how much room for error do we have? So in this instance behind us, we're going to have a look at the exit. Now, there's not much grass to the stones to the tire barrier. So if we're trying to make a pass on a hairpin corner like we can see right now, if it does go wrong, there's basically no margin for error. So these are sort of corners that you're going to look at and go, you know what, it's probably not worth the risk to reward, because if it goes wrong, there's no way of coming out of those stones or that tire barrier. So just be mindful that when you're looking at some of these corners, if there's plenty of grass around you and there's plenty of runoff, you can probably go for that attacking move. But if you find that it's basically racetrack into gravel or stones, then maybe just wait a corner or two where there's a lot more margin for error, and if it goes wrong, you can still stay in that race. Okay, so probably one of the most important things as well is looking for our racing line. Now, we've got a nice day in front of us now, so we can kind of see the shiny section of the racetrack compared to the darker section. So obviously, we want to be staying on that racing line where it's shiny as well. So on a nice sunny day, it's quite visible for us to see where the racing line is. So again, trying to make that visual markers straight away, just by walking the track, you can get a sense of where to drive on the track as well. Okay, so not all racetracks use the cut through, so to shorten up those roll around or warm up laps. But in this instance behind us, we have our cut through. So again, doesn't always get utilized, but it's probably a good idea to get a sense of where that may be, because if you're starting off pole position because you've qualified well or to a random grid draw and you don't know where the cut throughs are, you can end up falling that you're doing an extra lap or two, and you can get penalized for that on the racing start as well. So just be mindful, look for where some of that cut throughs are, watch some races before you go out, but get a sense of it on a track walk. Okay, so one of the last things we're going to look at today is something that's actually not on the track, but it's outside of the track limits. Is actually, we're going to look at this tire barrier that's now here. So some may think, well, why are we looking at that tire barrier, for example? Well, this is back quite a long time ago, but I was actually involved in a bit of a racing incident at this Tony Kart corner behind us, and I got pushed off to the track, so pushed off into the grass. So instead of losing a lot of time and trying to make my way back onto the circuit behind us, I was actually able to get pushed off quite aggressively. I was able to actually basically shortcut the circuit and then readdress that position. So I was actually still able to fight in the race. So again, these are little things that you might not think too much about, but in that instance, I knew that there was a little bit of a gap. I was actually able to take advantage of it, readdress, and still fight for victory, where right now it's going to be a lot harder with that tire barrier behind us. You can't sort of get through. So that's what you straight away, you know that you have to get your way back onto the circuit. You're going to lose some time as well, but you're going to stay in the race.